So one thing I get asked all the time at Roadmap is how to deliver a verbal pitch. I have a couple of tricks. So the trick number one is to imagine breaking your pitch up into sections. First section, just your introductory business. Hi, thank you so much for listening. You always want to thank somebody for listening to your pitch. Give your log line, tonal comps, and the format. You just got to get this information out of the way right at the beginning. Make sure the person listening to you has the right ears on, because you don't want them thinking that it's a feature when it's a pilot, or it's a long-running series when it's actually a mini-series. You just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, everybody knows what to expect. So after that, I tell people to give just a little bit about you, just a sentence or two, who you are, why you're writing this story. It helps you feel like a human and not a robot that pitches scripts. Now we're going to get into the information part of your pitch. So if you're pitching a pilot, talk a little bit about the characters, who they are, what they want. If you are pitching a feature, you don't need to do an individual character section because your synopsis is a little bit longer. Tell us just the main beats of the story. Generally, what is this about? The trick here is not to get lost in little plot details. So you just want to move from one plot point to the other as quickly as possible without rushing. So the trick that I give writers to help with this is to imagine putting all of the elements of your pitch on a scale. And so if you are going to give time to one element, you have to take time from another. So it'll force you to think really critically about your story and ask what is actually important. And now here's the fun part of the pitch, at least in my opinion, because at the end of the pitch, I like to tell people to talk about the theme. Talk about, what this story is going to mean to other people. And there's a nice little kind of bookend, if you will, to your pitch there. So you started talking about what it means to you, and you're going to end with what it means to everyone else. You want other people to watch it, other people to read it, other people to connect with it, and ideally, you want it to move them in some way. Couple of pro tips from me. I think character emotions absolutely make a story, because you don't want your pitch to sound like just a list of things that happen. You want it to feel engaging, and telling us how the character feels about things is a surefire way to do that. Pro tip number 2 is to include what I call mile markers. So that's effectively just labeling important moments in your script. So saying things like at the midpoint, here at the beginning of Act 2, coming into Act 3 at the inciting incident. Any of those kinds of things really help give your pitch some structure, and it helps ground your story. So if you are new to verbal pitching, I know it can feel really daunting, it can feel really scary, but keep a couple of these tips in mind. Practice, and I promise you are going to be A-okay.